Well, good afternoon, everyone, and here we are at forward operation. Tables are made for eating, and here we are with Transport Command doing a bit of a display. Now, my intention is to replicate one of every type of aircraft in service with the What If totally made up fictional Malagasy What If Air Force in 1 in 72nd. Now, they operate around the Indian Ocean. They are a regional superpower in What If land, allied with India, Qatar, the UAE, Israel, America mainly. They did buy some Russian stuff via India, but obviously that was pre the war in Ukraine and some bad acting going on. So their idea is to maintain stability. They do have their own little triangle which stretches down to the Kerguelen Isles and stretches up to the Seychelles, which is Malagasy What If territory. Now, Transport Command, I called it Transport Command because I think it does what it says on the tin, and I quite like having Fighter Command and Bomber Command because, again, you know what you're getting. So here we have some of the key types, and there are two aircraft that I haven't added on, which is a 707. They're in limited service, presidential and a VIP transport mainly. And also I've got another A400M, which I'm in the process of building, which is going to be done as the 2035 tanker. And that will be done in flying condition, so in flight on a stand, on a Zvezda stand. But because I've life extended the KC-135, there is less pressure to get that built, so that has been parked a bit. The most important thing here is that this allows them to move goods, allows them to move men and material and weapon systems around, both internally within the state and externally within the island chain. Now, a lot of this will come down to the Sternlanders as well when they get built. New capabilities coming this year. But let's start. So let's start with the KC-135Rs because they are the most important part of the whole of Transport Command, no less. These are being modified into the RX series with the winglets. I've done a separate video on that. This is the ancient AM80 Ertl kit with resin engines added on because you can't get the 135Rs for love or money. Italeri need to badly release it. It's got a new modern APU, SATCOM and stuff like that. But otherwise, it's just a lifetime enhancement and Mindfly with the boom and underwing tanking pods here so they can refuel boom aircraft like the Americans, and they can refuel other NATO aircraft and Navy aircraft using the probe and drogue system. 27 of these in active service, What If, of course, active service, which I think is the world's second biggest tanker fleet. 6 further airframes at any time going through a rolling programme of maintenance, the Block 45 cockpit mods, and these winglets giving greater range and endurance. And then we move on to one of the smaller aircraft in Transport Command service, and this is the Fairchild Swearingen Metro 3, or a C-26 as it's known in American service. Now this one is used, 12 of these are used in What If land, and they are used for transporting injured personnel around, medical evacuation, VIP transport, personnel transport, and they have a 2,000-mile range. They're not air refuelable, so they don't really go much further than the island chain around Madagascar and to Africa. They can stage further, but they're not an air refueling asset. And really, they don't need to be because the KC-135R or RX in this guise is not just a refueling tanker. It carries its fuel underneath the cargo floor, and then you have this large cargo hatch there capable of taking cargo, personnel, aero medical evacuation. So with the range of the KC-135 being so good, If there's a need to go to the Kerguelen or to India, to Australia, they can do transport missions using the KC-135's cargo capability, which is quite good, and a very useful asset to have. Now let's go to the other end and let's start at the tactical level. So this is the kind of the smaller level of what if Malagasy transport. And here's where the main conundrums and problems come into play. So here we have the CASA C212, which has a 700-mile range, limited in practice to 10,000 feet, although with supplementary oxygen you can get higher to 25,000 feet. This is used as a light transport aircraft and an aircraft used a lot in training. 12 of those in that configuration, used to move light goods around, spare parts for aircraft, spare parts for helicopters. Air refuelable, yes, so it can go further afield, and it does have underwing tanks there for extra range, but then you're diminishing payload. Payload of these is about 2,000 kilograms, which isn't bad, but this is very much a light baby airlifter. Fully equipped for combat though, with the radar warning and missile alert warning system and chaff and flares underneath. So it does have capabilities. Good short field performance and unimproved airfield performance, but a little bit vulnerable to crosswind landings because of its landing gear. So 12 of those are used. Then we go up to the C-27J Spartan, which I've just finished and done a video on. This is the next gen. This has got the winglets, which I've added from a CRJ 700 kit. And the Spartan is in the 10,000 kilogram max payload range. The Spartan itself is covered in warning sensors, and I'd operate 9 of these in the sort of the child airlifter role. So it's a useful piece of kit to have because you don't always need a big aircraft like the A400M to support field exercises and support general duties. It is more limited though than the A400M, and you may say, well, why haven't you used the Hercules? Well, it's a good question, and the Hercules are being used by the Navy, and I've got a couple of Italeri kits to build. Sorry, a couple of Zvezda and one Italeri Hercules still to build, both as another maritime patroller and for the Navy. So the Navy are operating the C-130J fleet, and they're also operating the C-133Js, the remaining ones of those. They're down to 6 of those 50,000 kilogram payload aircraft. So we've got the combination here of the, if you like, the baby and the child airlifter. And then we step up to the A400M. And this is where kind of a lot of the conundrums and problems kind of start, because whilst this C-27J has a good payload of 10,000 kilograms, and you would say, yep, the Foxhound PPV, which is used by the Light Airborne Forces, 7.5 tons. It makes a perfect combination for assault. Actually, it doesn't work because these are too big to actually go in the cargo box inside the C-27J, and that is the problem with a lot of military equipment now, is it's simply outgrown the platforms that it was intended for. And we can see that as we move to our next aircraft, which is the A400M, as used by the RAF, the Luftwaffe, and the French, amongst others. And this is a fantastic airlifter, being able to carry 37 tons or 37,000 kilograms of payload, more than the 20,000 of the C-130J. It's got a much bigger cargo box, and that's why I've gone for these rather than the C-130Js, because the cargo box is a lot bigger in the aircraft, so it can accommodate bigger equipment, like this high mobility excavator here from JCB. The C-130Js, like I said, have gone for the Navy, where their fit is better, mainly used as refuelers with underwing refueling pods. And in the tanker role, 9 additional A400Ms will be used in the tanker role, and they will have the under-wing refueling pods like the KC-135, and the reason for that is because the A400M can refuel helicopters, and it can refuel aircraft. So the KC-135 can't refuel helicopters. At the minute, these are done via a pod in the cargo bay, but they will have the underwing refueling system there going forwards to 2035. So 27 plus 9 gives 36. 36 is the planned total in service for 2035. Now, the A400M is really vital to the expeditionary forces, the Malagasy expeditionary forces. One, it can be air refueled itself, so its reach is global. But two, it can carry heavier equipment. And really, in terms of equipment and carrying, you've got two choices. You can either deliver equipment for fighting which is ready to go, which I think is better, or you have to assemble it. So whilst the A400M can carry the Puma, it has to be assembled, and that's not so good. So really, that's why the Navy have gone for the XC-142, the Sea Gunny there, because it's aerial refuelable, and it can go and get to the battle zone itself by air refueling. Same with the CH-53 fleet there, fully air refuelable. And that's really what I want to do with my forces. I don't want them having to build Pumas and build Chinooks when they get there. And that's one of the problems for the A400M, is the growth in the weight, a bit like my belly, of the platforms that it was originally designed for. So here we have what it can carry easily to the battlefield. It can carry the Centauro 1 with the 120mm main gun. It can carry the BVS 410 Viking, no problems. It can carry the high mobility excavator, the Foxhound there, the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, both in an anti-aircraft and anti-drone application. So it can get these vehicles, and the bulk of the airborne forces are really going to be using these, the BVS 410 and the Foxhound, and supporting them with the Centauros. This is the 120mm one with an RWS, and the Foxhounds, because they need to be ready to go. And the A400M offers that tactical field performance of being able to deposit your airborne force, have them ready to go and fully ready to take ground. You don't have that with the Spartan, so I need to look at a lighter vehicle such as the Daegor A1, Polaris Daegor A1 ultralight for the Spartans, so that they can be used to do the initial airfield drop. But that's where the A400 comes into its own, and it comes in at the stage above the Hercules, because these aren't transportable as one piece in the Hercules. BVS 410, I think it is, but the idea is that you can get heavier equipment now. The problem is the Boxer. The Boxer can be transported in the A400M, but it has to be split, I believe, into the main module, which includes the drivetrain, but not the fighting module. And for me, that's really pointless, because the whole thing, and as you can see, the Boxers, the module at the back is where the mission units go, and the actual thing itself is weighing now 38 tons. The payload max for the A400M is 37.5 tons. So the growth of the Boxers and the growth of military vehicles means that, for me, if you're doing a two-part load, well, what are you achieving? And that's where this, the big daddy of airlifters comes in. And this is from the Fighting Ralphs. There's Ralph himself, the red kangaroo for John, getting ready to throw some punches. So the C-17 is therefore what's used to transport the bulk of the fighting equipment into the theatres. And the reason being is it can carry all of this stuff. So we've got Boxers, we've got a Centauro recovery vehicle, we've got a M142 HIMARS. Now that can go in the A400M and can go in the Hercules. This is the unarmoured cab version. I've got armoured cab versions as well. We've got a Fuchs engineering vehicle. We've got the Boxer CRV there with the new turret on it. and we've got some Centauros here, a Centauro with a mine clearer, and all of these can be deployed straight from the C-17 ready to go. Now the C-17 crosses the divide between a true strategic airlifter like the C-5 Galaxy, and this is an anagram kit, and the A400M and the Hercules. It fills that gap, and it does it really well because it can do tactical landings, except on beaches, but it can deploy heavy equipment up to 70,000 kilograms, which is pretty awesome. So that's where 9 of these are in service with the What If Malagasys. Fully air refuelable. These ones have gone for the probe and drogue for some reason, mainly because of looking forwards to the A400M as a tanker, and before the life extension of the KC-135RX, which will take it to around 2040 at the minimum. But the C-17 also gives the ability to load in tanks, up to 70 tons of tanks. So we've got a KF-51, possibly the future heavy tank, there with its strike shield and a drone carrier pod open. And that weighs 51 tons, as per the name. And then we've got a 50-ton Type 10 Mitsubishi Type 10, a lovely tank. And I use those quite a lot. And it can deploy those ready to fight. And it can deploy the main body of the Malagasy Expeditionary Force ready to fight. So the plan would be to take an airfield using A400Ms, maybe take out wounded and bring in pallets of ammunition using the C-27 Spartans additionally, or the initial assault using Daegor A1 ultralights with the Spartans, special forces kind of stuff. And then bring in your main bulk of the expeditionary force using the C-17s. Once the airfield's taken and secure, bring in the Patriots and stuff like that with the C-17s. So you've got your SHORADs, your short-range air defence, and then you're bringing in your long-range air defence with the C-17s, and bringing in the rest of the expeditionary force with the A400M. So that's how the Transport Command plans to work. And all of that is supported by the backbone, the big enabler, the KC-135RX. Fighter Command then provide cover for Transport Command, and take out anything around the airfield where you're aiming for, and Bomber Command destroy the enemy's ability to respond to your airfield attack by taking out their supply routes and taking out their main concentration of forces. So the whole thing is tied together, and it's based around some pretty capable types and some pretty capable models, and I need to get these moved because apparently tables are for eating. Take care. Goodbye.